Your web properties are mission critical for your business, yet every configuration change has potential to break them. Seeing the effect that a configuration change will have on your web property before it goes live can help increase your confidence in the correctness and safety of the change. Test Center helps you perform two types of testing: functional and comparative testing. We recommend that you use both types of testing for best results. In this video, we'll walk you through the functional testing features of Test Center. Functional testing allows you to assert conditions that are expected to be true in handling specific test requests. The goal of functional testing is to check if the configuration changes work as planned. It compares the expected and actual HTTP response or config setting values for the test request. Let's now log in to Test Center. You can either log on to control.akamai.com and from the main menu, under CDN, click Test Center. Or you can log on by clicking on the Test This Version in Property Manager Activate tab. You are now on the Test Center homepage. It has a left navigation panel and a main section that lists your activities for the last 30 days. On the left panel, click Functional Testing. This brings us to the main section where you can create and configure test objects. The interface is divided into three main sections: the Test Objects section, the Master List section, and a Details section. Let's explore each of the test objects in a bit more detail. First, let's look at the smallest unit of functional testing, a test case. It's a combination of a condition, test request, and a client profile for which you want Test Center to run a test. A condition is a criterion to be evaluated on the HTTP response corresponding to the test request or a specific config setting applied to the test request. A test request is a combination of a fully qualified URL and optionally custom request headers. A client profile is a combination of a browser type, geographical region, and IP version that characterizes the client used to make a test request. The test cases are aggregated into named test suites, which can be associated to a requirement or a config version. Here you see a two-panel view of the master list of all the test cases created in the Test Center for your account. The Details panel shows all pertinent information about the selected test case. You can also see a list of test suites this test case is associated with and your recent activity. To create a new test case, simply click the plus icon and follow the 5-step process. It is not obligatory to associate a test case with a test suite, but it is recommended. However, you must include a condition, a test request, and a client profile. You can run a test for one test case or a group of test cases. Select the test cases from the master list and use the action button to run a test on multiple test cases together, or use the Run Test button for an individual test case. You can also clone a test case when you want to create a similar test case and edit just an attribute of it. Test suites act as containers for test cases. Here you can add test cases to cover the scope of the test. Just as in the test case object, you have the master list and the details section that displays all the test suites in the Test Center. You can add a new test suite by clicking on the plus icon and providing relevant details. Add test cases to the selected test suite by clicking the plus icon here. Now let's look at how these test cases and test suites can be used in requirements and config versions. Requirements basically describe business needs behind the config changes. The Requirements tab lets you create requirements and associate test suites with them that include test cases. The test cases can be used as a unit test to confirm the correct implementation of the business requirement. You can create a new requirement by providing all the relevant details and use this plus icon to associate test suites to it. By default, when you execute a requirement, all the associated test suites would be included in the run. To run a test, select a requirement and use either the Actions button or the Run Test button on the Details panel. Test Center allows you to run a test on only one requirement at a time. You can choose a network where the change is active on to run a test. Moving on to config versions, these are the configuration versions for your organization, added to the Test Center through Property Manager. This tab lets you add a config version and associate test suites with it. In this case, the test cases are regression test cases for the property version. Because it may be necessary to make changes to more than one configuration to implement a requirement, here you can select multiple config versions and run a regression test for all of them together. The Test Center includes all the associated test suites with the selected config versions in the run. Note that you can run functional tests for a requirement, a config version, a test suite, or a test case. The results are either fail or pass. The results show you the expected and actual value. We have now successfully explored the functional testing features of the Test Center. Thank you for watching.